What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Cub Kuker Supernatural Podcast. My name is Jacob Kuker, but my friends call me Cub, and you should too. Every day on the Cub Kuker Supernatural Podcast, we explore faith, spirituality, and the realms of paranormal. If you dig that, you're in the right place. I've got a fantastic episode for you today. My hair is being really funky today. I'm trying to grow it out, so you guys will just have to bear with the hair. As it does, kind of whatever it wants. So, but as it gets longer, maybe it'll look, a little bit better, unless, I have a mop on my head. So what's up, K-Bugs? How are you doing? Chadwick, welcome. Amen. Amenhotep, welcome. Robin, welcome. Chris, welcome. Bill, welcome. Thank you guys so much for being here. God, my hair is driving me nuts today. I need some product in it or something, but so what we're going to talk about today, very, very interesting, I think groundbreaking episode here. And you're going to want to be present for this. I'm going to keep messing with my hair here. So, you're going to want to be present for this because this is a fantastic episode. We're going to be talking about the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and I'm going to be looking at, and I think proving that Christianity is out of Egypt, proving that the Bible is out of Egypt. Now, this is going to be a hard one for a lot of people to hear, but I need you to keep an open mind, keep an open heart about this. And as we get into this, we're going to discover some fascinating details that I think really change what the Bible is and what Christianity itself is. Now, I can speak on behalf of Christianity, or at least my version of it, because that's the way I was raised. I was raised in the Christian church. I still have a lot of Christian tendencies and beliefs. That does not mean that I'm not a free thinker. I have a very, very open mind, but I also have a heart that submits to God. So there's kind of an interesting dichotomy there that a lot of people don't understand. That's totally cool. That's okay. We're going to get into today. What does that really mean? What does that look like? And why is the Bible basically old school Egyptian monotheism recycled? That's a hard, cold thing for me to say. If you think that I'm trying to somehow take down Christianity, I'm not. In fact, again, I identify as a Christian mystic. A mystic is someone who believes in the greater mystical world around us, right? The supernatural, hence the Cub Kuker Supernatural Podcast. So, I'm really, really excited to get into that. So anyway, we're live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, or X, Apple, and Spotify. So, really looking forward to getting into this today. Let's see. Out of Egypt, I have called my son. Matthew 2:15, quoting Hosea 11:1. This gets real, guys. I don't know how I can set this up better, other than to tell you that this, if you are a Christian, this is going to challenge you. It's going to be hard to stomach. I'm probably going to have to do this in multiple episodes. Let me give a little bit of background here. I kind of went back to Christianity after going full on mystic for quite some time. And now I'm kind of swinging back towards the full on mystic. Now, I think the purpose of that is, and a lot of us go through that, kind of pendulum swing, if you will. I think the purpose of that is so that we can really pick up data from all corners of the spiritual spectrum, if you will. And I think it's really important to do that. Again, I still support mystic Christianity, not dogmatic Christianity. That's really where I start drawing the line, and I have trouble with it. And I always have, by the way. Even when I went back to, Christianity, started going back to church, stuff like that, started reading my Bible every day. I still was never sold on the idea of this dogma that you're given. So what we're going to get in today is looking at the elements that connect directly to the ancient Egyptian mysteries. And I am more and more convinced that Christianity is recycled Egyptian mysticism, pre-god and goddess worship, pre-deity worship. They had a monotheistic spiritual practice. The Anunnaki did as well. The Hebrew mystics did as well. The Essenes that Jesus was a part of did as well. And so I think that, we're looking at something that we don't really understand. And when you package it and box it into the religiosity, churchianity construct, we kind of end up with a really weird, dogmatic, closed-minded ethos that we have to follow. And that's something that, as I went back to Christianity and Christ, I started to realize, wait a minute, there's just like a lot of dogma here. And like, if I'm going to reappropriate Christianity for myself, then I'm going to have to shed everything that I don't like about it, everything that doesn't resonate about it. And then am I even left with Christianity? And so those were the questions I had to ask myself as someone looking and seeking deeply. What are those mysteries that Jesus was talking about? Why is the Gospel of Thomas considered heretical? Why is the Book of Enoch not in the Bible? Why have we dogmatically held to 66 books here in the West, and then the Catholic canon has 72, and then the Ethiopian canon has 88? And why does the Bible say that all Scripture is good for building up the saints and for reproof and for correction and for understanding? Like, why is that there? So I started to ask some really hard questions, even as I reapproached Christianity. And one of them that was answered by God, I fully believe, was look deeper into the pyramids. Look deeper into ancient astronaut theory. Look deeper into what's really going on. And I've discovered two things, and I'm going to start this out with two truths that I've discovered, and I can say that they're truths. And I don't expect you to believe me. I want you to test everything that I say. But the truths that I have observed and that I believe are, number one, most people are worshiping aliens. Most people are worshiping beings that came from the stars, according to our mythos of the past. Most people, most traditions, most organized religiosity traditions are doing alien worship. Unbeknownst, by the way. When we quote things like the book of Genesis and we say that we're created in God's image, and we do not understand that that word means the gods, we are literally denying who the true God is, the Spirit of God that hovered over the water, the one that actually breathed the breath of life into us. Emma, welcome. Thank you for being here. I forgot we're on Twitch too. Thank you, Emma, for being here. Really appreciate it. Talking about the Egyptian mysteries and how they relate to the Bible today. Really revolutionary stuff today, at least for me. I'm not saying other people haven't done this work, but for me, this stuff like hit me like a ton of bricks. And some of the stuff I'm going to tell you guys today. Thank you for the follow, Emma. I really appreciate that. Some of the stuff I'm going to share with you guys today has literally changed my entire view of the Bible. Like, when I tell you the data I'm about to unfold over the next hour will wreck your world if you are a Bible-beating, one way or the highway type person. You're either going to disagree with me completely, or it's going to completely unlock a new level for you. When you see what I'm about to talk about, including why Jesus is called the cornerstone, including the actual New Jerusalem and the measurements and plan for that, including the original 10 Commandments, which are in the Papyrus of Ani, which I'm going to share. In fact, the whole Mosaic Law is in there. It's just in a different prose. Guys, this stuff will completely change your life. Who is the I Am? And why is the I Am and Atum the same being, the same mystical spirit force that Jesus spoke of as the Father, the invisible spirit and truth? This is stuff that when I say they don't want you to know, guys, they're all in on it. Like, that, right? Like, even your pastor's pastor is in on it. And I don't mean that to demonize anyone or, say, down with the church or anything like that. What I mean is they've been programmed by a program to forget, to choose to forget what is hidden in plain sight. And when I say hidden in plain sight, I mean it is literally written in the stars. And we're going to talk about that today and why it is so, so, so important. Words are in code. Sign Havoc says exactly. Leak has a question. Go for it. Elohim means plural gods. Exactly. I'm so confused about the topic. Is this like Christians approve or oppose of that? Great question. I think I would be willing to say at this point that a true believer, a true follower of Christ, follows the path of Christ, not the person of Jesus. A true believer follows the actual thing that Jesus laid out as the way, the philosophy, the ideology, the mindset, the heart set, the servitude, the sovereign mind and submitted heart. Okay, that's something you're not taught in modern day Sunday school, right? So, no, I would say that most of my Christian brothers and sisters really disagree with me on this and even call me heretical. I've been, attacked over and over by that side of the fence. The other side of the fence, the New Age. My biggest criticism of the New Age too is that they adopt deity worship. They reject things like Christianity and say, well, I'm not going to worship one God. I'm just going to worship the universe, and then I'm going to let all of these spirit guides tell me what to do. Okay, that I've been outspoken on that too. Not because I'm hating on anybody, but because for me, it's not okay. It's not okay for me to trade the sovereignty I have in my mind and the unity I have in my heart with God, with the supreme being, through the path that Christ set out, and trade that for me worshiping another alien being or a spirit of the forest or anything like that. For me, that's not okay. And when I say for me, I'm not making decisions for you. Your decision is upon you. My decision is upon me. So that's where people get mad at me. Oh, Cub has the one way. No. I'm looking for it, and I'm constantly going, where's the North Star? Where's the North Star? Trying to stay honed in thought, in heart, and in my entire mind, my ethos. ASAP, thank you for the gifts, my friend. Appreciate it. So, let's get into this. A lot of good questions today. A lot of interesting comments, guys. Love what you guys are saying here. The Bible is manipulated by man. Absolutely it was. Doesn't mean it's not an incredible compendium of data for you to dig through and learn from. And when you combine the Bible with things like the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which I'm going to be reading from today. This thing is huge. This has the original Papyrus of Ani in it, and we're going to be reading from this with the actual hieroglyphs. It's very important. I don't think any Christian should just open the Bible and assume they're getting everything that they need without reading everything. The Hermetica. Why is Jesus' philosophy Hermetic philosophy? Why is Jesus' philosophy straight out of monotheistic Egypt? When I say monotheistic Egypt, I mean pre-deity worship, when all the little g gods got their own temples. I mean back when Kemet, the land of Kemet, knew the one God Atum and understood who the Son of God was and why the 12 apostles followed the Son of God, a.k.a. the Zodiac. Sign Havoc says the Bible is a good start to learn about the ancient history. Absolutely. And that's why on this channel I explore faith, spirituality, and paranormal, and explore the supernatural secrets of the Bible and beyond. Because that's what it is. It's an exploration. Every day I feel like I put on my Indiana Jones hat and I go into ancient history and into the past. And I begin to unlock and look at all of these ancient mysteries. And to me, that's the coolest thing in the world. It's the coolest job in the world. I'm so thankful I get to do this. I have so much gratitude to the Supreme Being and to all of y'all that I get to do this every day. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. That's where Moses got the 10 Commandments. Exactly. Yes, you should not expect God to put everything you need to know in a book. I mean, who do you think he is? God? Yeah, exactly. See, and that's the type of thinking that I'm addressing today. Why would God expect people who truly love him to only look at one book? Okay, I got married. My wife didn't give me a book on how to be married to her. God doesn't give you a book on how to be married to him. He gives you a whole lot of books. He gives you movies and TV too, which have all of the things I'm talking about today implanted in them. Okay? Not everything is satanic out there the way you're told. You have all of these truths hidden in things like The Matrix, The Truman Show. I literally watched another Jim Carrey movie the other night, Bruce Almighty. Did you realize that he was married to Grace, or getting married to Grace there, and his ego was the thing that led him away from Grace? And once he decided to let his ego go, that's when the power of God flowed through him, and when God could actually work through him, and that's when he attained grace again. Did you also notice that Grace had a very specific bloodline? Did you also notice the connections to Mary Magdalene? Did you also notice ... All of this stuff is hidden in movies and television. It's amazing. Sign Havoc says Moses is actually Akhenaten. That I've heard for a long time, and I don't doubt it. And I actually believe that Akhenaten was extraterrestrial, or at least a hybrid. He kind of came out of nowhere. He had a very elongated head. We have this really interesting history of Moses leaving Egypt with the mysteries. We're told in the Hermetica where Thoth, who is Enoch, basically. And when I say basically, there's differences in these characters, okay? Like, it's hard to say, yes, it is Enoch. But there's definitely super similarities where it's like, yeah, that's pretty much Enoch, right? He's a scribe of the gods. He wasn't actually a god, but he became one, and he was taken up to the home of the gods, just like Enoch, right? They didn't call Enoch a god, but they called him favored by God and taken up, right? It's pretty interesting. So, the lost wisdom of the pharaohs, very, very important. Again, if you're a Christian mystic, or you're just someone looking for truth, you should read the Bible. You should read the Hermetica. You should read the Egyptian Book of the Dead. You should read the Bhagavad Gita, because there's a singular truth that runs through all of it. That's what Jesus called the narrow path. I am the way, the truth, and the life, right? So we're going to get into it. Let's look at some of the undeniable proofs here, in my opinion. Out of Egypt I have called my son, Matthew 2:15, quoting Hosea 11:1. For centuries, Christianity has been presented as a religion born in the Middle East, distinct from ancient Egyptian tradition. But what if the narrative is incomplete? What if Christianity, in its truest, most mystical form, is actually a continuation of ancient Egyptian worship of the one true God, known to the priests of Heliopolis as Atum? Before I continue this is my opinion today. This is for entertainment purposes only. Always do your own research. And please know that I love, I respect, I support everyone from every walk of life, race, religion, orientation. Okay? And just because I love you and I support that doesn't mean I always agree with that. So I'm going to have opinions that might offend some people. Doesn't mean I don't love you. Doesn't mean I don't support you to make your own decisions, but it may mean that, hey, those practices, they're not right for me, and they're not right for what I agree to teach people, because my teachings are my agreements with myself, period. Okay, I'm not here to lead the masses as some guru. I'm here to figure this out and share the data as I figure it out. That's purely what I'm doing here, and be an entertainer online. I love entertaining. I love making this content. I love being creative. I love creating all the cool, backgrounds using AI. And now I have all the video backgrounds with all the cool video game looking footage. I literally sit here all day. I edit all that stuff by hand every day. Plug it in, put it in the background, then shoot my videos. I write all my videos. I get to do this. I love what I do. And I'm grateful that I get to do that. But please understand, I'm not your guru. I'm just a guy who likes looking into this stuff and creating in a way that I can understand it. And that has proven to be something valuable to the masses. And I'm very blessed because of that. So just know that. Love you. I support you. Doesn't mean I agree with you or that I agree to teach something that I don't agree with. So I'm only teaching as I see it here. Do your own research. Always have discernment. Amen, my friend. Absolutely. So in this episode, I am hopefully going to unveil powerful connections between the Egyptian mysteries and the message of Christ. I believe I am, by the way. We explore scripture, sacred geometry, and ancient cosmology hidden within the Bible, as well as Egyptian mythology. Christianity is not divorced from Egypt. It was born there, guys. It was born there. Okay, I am the God of Moses and Atum. I am that I am in Exodus 3:14. In the Egyptian pyramid text, it says, I came into being in the form of Atum, who came into being by himself. By the way, if you shorten that, it basically is, I am that I am. I'm here. I was here. I'll be here. I will become that which I become. The I am is maybe one of the most debated philosophies on the planet. I've watched people get super worked up about what it means. And I think that's the point. Because if you're going to know God, you really got to dig. If you're going to know who God is, you really got to ask questions. If you want to experience God, you better be willing to be uncomfortable. This ain't your Sunday school. This ain't a happy-go-lucky sermon. This is, you got to be willing to die to yourself, surrender your heart and your life to the supreme being, not a little g God, not an alien God, not a God that wages war on people, not a God that likes to unalive, not a God that does all these things. Okay, those are the angels of the Lord. Okay? But I'm talking about the God that is and was and is to come, that is above all. Again, to even call it a Christian God or anything is I think doing him a disservice. He is the God of all, period. So in the burning bush encounter, Moses meets a God who identifies as pure being. Ea, Asher, Ea, I am that I am. This phrase echoes the Egyptian creation hymn of Atum. Self creates out of the primordial chaos, Nun. Atum was worshipped as the one God, both father and mother of all, from whom all life emerged. Moses, according to Acts 7:22, was learned in all the wisdom and mysteries of Egypt. He was not only familiar with Atum's theology, he was initiated into it. Do you guys get what I'm saying here? Do you get that, like, even Acts is telling you that Moses knew the Egyptian mysteries and that this entire faith tradition that we have came out of Egypt because it is an Abrahamic faith. It came through the Mosaic law. It came through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Where do you think that God came from? Why out of Egypt? Because that's where it was first spoken of. That's where it was first introduced into the matrix. That's where the beings that worked for it first landed in the Akur and founded Kemet, or the land of mountain houses. Do you see where this is all going now? To divorce Christianity from ancient astronaut theory and from Egyptian mysteries is literally to cut off its very power, I believe. Because then you don't understand who the beings were. You don't understand who the angels are. You don't understand why Jesus is Lord of heaven and earth and why he is the most high Elohim, El Elyon, God most high in the celestial flesh, because he's the full avatar and realization within our matrix of the spirit, the invisible spirit of God, or Atum. Tam says, what do you think about the Zoroastrian religion? It seems to inspire Christianity and Islam quite a lot. Yes. Okay. So, and that's a great point. Zoroastrianism we could easily argue that Christianity came from that. Could easily argue that the ancient Hebrew religion came from the Sumerian religion. It's because it all did. It all fed into each other. The same gods were teaching different tribes, different civilizations, the same exact concepts in different languages, different cultural adaptations at different times and different places. That's why everything is so similar. But again, I believe Kemet, you had Kemet, Atlantis, and then the original Edene. And I think those were like the three first outposts that were built. Remember, Kemet, or the land of alchemy, was where they were creating free energy, according to the ancient astronaut theory and what I believe. It's where the pyramids were emitting electrical charge in the air, and the obelisks were picking that up, powering the technology of the gods, by the way. Summer, I'll get to your comment here in a second. And then you have Atlantis. Well, Atlantis was doing a whole lot of other things. Atlantis had a lot of knowledge coming out of it. Atlantis had a lot of water technology coming out of it. Then you have the original Eden, or Edene, in the Sumerian. Edene was the outdoor breeding farm laboratory where they were working on the human genome, the garden of the gods. The gods were working every day to create human beings. The original creation of human beings was so we would serve them. Why do you think we want to worship something? Well, the being of Atum, the being of the supreme being, the Father that Jesus speaks of, he says, the day is coming when true worshipers will worship in spirit and truth, not in temples, not with sacrifices, but with your heart, with your being. There's no worship and falling down on your knees and waving your arms up and down. This is a way of life, an inner path to the truth and the beingness of Atum, God, the one God. Somebody said, dude, looks like a Marvel character. Thank you. I try to do like really cool video game looking characters. Is Lucifer and Satan the same thing? Those are two different mythos. Satan is the accuser. Lucifer is that morning star, which oddly Jesus is called in the book of Revelation because he rose against the gods. And there's actually quotes in the Old Testament where that one God is coming against Lucifer. So is it yes or no? We have to remember that Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, not only were they not all written by the same person, they're written in different times, different places, with different cultural adaptations to them. That's why you see Sophia in so many parts of the Bible, because the Greek goddess Sophia for wisdom is literally implanted with the word at the very beginning. And in fact, the Egyptian mystery of Isis, Ra, El, Israel, you have Isis, the mother, Ra, the son God, the son of God, and El Elyon, God Most High, the Father, Father, Mother, Child. That's the Trinity, by the way. Yeah, I got people arguing with me all the time because I say in Genesis it says, let us create man in our own image. Okay, we know from prior texts to the biblical text that that was not only not the Trinity, but it was clearly alien beings, extraterrestrial beings, extra-dimensional beings, or the gods, whatever you want to call them. The Elohim, the angels, the El. They were doing that creation. Then we get to the spirit science of it, and that's what I believe Jesus was talking about, by the way. That's what I believe Jesus was talking about. So, let me grab, Summer says, it's so interesting because after my spontaneous Kundalini awakening, my visions were all about Egypt. That is awesome. That is awesome. See, and I believe Jesus talks a lot about Kundalini. I believe he talks a lot about the chakra system. I also believe he essentially makes it clear that you can't like work your way up. It's like a process of awakening. And as high as you think you get, you still need to submit and surrender to the Most High. And that's even in Bruce Almighty, by the way. He has to meet him on the seventh floor at 777. The seventh floor being the higher consciousness, the crown chakra. But what's interesting is God, played by Morgan Freeman, is actually up in the attic shining a bright light down on him. And Bruce tries to go up the ladder. Well, he can't even go up because he can't see. He's, oh, God, that's bright. And he almost falls off the ladder. Morgan Freeman says, yeah, that's what most people say. So he actually comes down to Bruce, and that was after he asked him to help serve. Why don't you help serve on the ground level? Why don't you mop the floor with me? So do you see where this is all going? The process of ascension is serve on the ground floor. Because if you serve on the ground floor, then he'll come down and meet you, rather than you trying to climb up every step, every stone, take the elevator, do the psychodoos, open the kundalini, all of that stuff. And I'm not saying that stuff is not valuable in a spiritual journey, but when is the last time you've been able to turn on the kundalini and stay there? You can't do it. There's actually a theory that if you do that and you turn that type of energy on in you, it'll actually unalive you. That's why people that do too many psychodoos and stuff, it can unalive them if they do the wrong ones, right? So how do you turn that on forever? Well, you don't. He has to come down to meet you, and the only way is to serve. Jesus taught you the path. Serve others, love the Lord your God, love yourself, love your neighbor, serve, surrender your heart, have sovereignty of mind, and question everything, including the religious construct, and follow the path that God put before you, not the path they put before you. And that's something that's been hard for me, because even as I went back to Christianity and I'm like, I grew up Christian, I want to reappropriate this. I think it can be saved. It's really starting to look like I don't know if it can be saved, because wouldn't that go against the very teachings of Christ? He didn't come to start a movement of religion. He came to start a movement of the heart, a movement of the mind, a movement of truth, a movement of sovereignty, a movement of unity with God directly, a movement of rejecting other little g gods and all of these things that, this will guide me, or the fairies of the forest, or all this stuff, right? Again, you get into New Age. New Age is super open-minded, but man, we just trade everything that Jesus was talking about over there for little g worship, for yoking with spirits, or doing different rituals and stuff. And then what's the difference between those rituals and what the elites do on the higher level? Because the more you go down the rabbit hole, well, Jesus taught you simplicity, meditation, yoga with him, yoke with him. It's beautiful. Beautiful, by the way. Let's see. Somebody said Jesus is Lucifer. Doesn't bother me if he is, by the way. Doesn't bother me if he is. It depends on how you spin that mythology. Depends on how you spin it. It's very unclear from the text. He's mentioned like 2 or 3 times. It's really hard to understand. Edged, what's going on? How are you? Summer says everything you were saying resonates. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I appreciate it. King, thank you for being here. SM Cloud, thank you for being here. Thank you guys for joining. Tim's, thank you. Bipolar Bear, Ghost Samurai, Lumber Forsyth, thank you for being here. Appreciate y'all. Y'all are awesome. Appreciate it. Chris says, amazing how the churches rewrote ancient tablets the way they wanted to and brainwashed so many. Here's the deal. They didn't necessarily rewrite them, but they definitely appropriated them and they spun them. And then the Bible's all out of order. And then they tell you, just trust us. And they don't want you to dig. I've got a question that I haven't even had the guts to ask a pastor, because I know what the answer is. And it is, why did Jesus say, I did not come to abolish the law, but fulfill it? And then Paul says, literally, that Jesus abolished the law. Like, why? Like, why would he say that? Why? And then we're buying both of those as truth and trying to reconcile them, rather than realizing maybe Paul was a man that really wanted a spot in the spotlight and he just did his own thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. Fine, good for him. But maybe we need to take what Jesus says over anything else, and then look at the philosophies that are exactly like Jesus, the Hermetic philosophy, even a lot of the Gnostic scriptures. I'm rereading a lot of those. The Gospel of Thomas is amazing. Keith says that just trust us. Think about that for a minute. Exactly. So The last thing I want to do with this podcast today is discourage you from going to church, discourage you from seeking an active relationship with God, discourage you from experiencing him, discourage you from Jesus and his message, discourage you from observing him and honoring him as your Lord. That's not my point of this. My point is dig deeper. Most Christians can't even answer me, why is Jesus your Lord? Why is he the Lord of heaven and earth? Well, he died for my sins. But why did he die for your sins? Because we're sinful. Okay, yeah, that's what the church tells you. What the truth is, in my humble opinion, is that the watcher angels corrupted the bloodline, and he came back with the perfect bloodline, spilled it on the earth as a significant ritual to show that he was buying it back. And anyone that agrees with that ritual now gets the upgrade to speak directly with God again. And you don't have to go through the archons, through the spirit guides or the angels or all of those things. You can go straight to the Spirit of God. And I think that that's really cool. Good. Awesome, Edge. Glad to hear. 3261 CM says, beautiful. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Melanie, for being here. Appreciate you guys. Paul very clearly explains that Jesus has abolished the need for ceremony. Fell says, yeah, I mean, he does. But then he goes on to say that Jesus abolished the law and the prophets. Unfortunately, that's not what Jesus said. So that's where I have an issue with Paulianity. And the more I get into that, it's like, interesting. So Tim's says, talk, but you will never address the identity of Esau. And by the way, all caps, all I can do is read it as yelling at me. So I don't read people that yell at me. If you type all caps, I by proxy ignore what you're saying. Like I literally don't care, because either you're an AI bot or you're an angry person. That's how I see it. Or you just want attention so bad that you're not giving a relevant comment. So to answer your comment about Esau, I don't know anything about Esau. And why would Jesus be Esau? That makes zero sense. Jesus makes sense as Enki. He makes sense as Lucifer. He makes sense as Lord of heaven and earth. He makes sense as the second Adam. Never heard the Esau thing. Okay, I'll look into it, but I don't expect to find much there, but I will look into it. Ayo, genuine question. Do you think we could be living in Satan's little season? Great question. A lot of people have said that. When have we seen Jesus rule on earth? When have we seen that? I know we've had, covered up history. I believe that. I think what we're seeing from the Tartarian age is fallen angel technology. I think that we got, almost Tower of Babel advanced for a long time, and then that's what they're covering up because it was working with humanity. They found it, reverse engineered it, destroyed it, covered up the history, and now they're trying to recreate all of that to control humanity rather than actually let humanity live with the benefits of that technology. Thank you, Pete. Appreciate you, my friend. Pete says, love the content. Thank you. So that's my opinion on that. I don't have proof of that or anything, but the idea that Jesus already came and that we're in Satan's little season doesn't make sense because of all the other things I see happening in Revelation that happened pre-return of Christ. And I don't see any evidence that we ever had a 1,500 foot tall pyramid landing in the Middle East, which I'm about to talk about. And I clearly think that we're going to. Jacqueline, how are you, my friend? I hope you're doing well. I miss seeing you. I hope you're doing awesome. Glad to see you in the chat today. Thank you for being here. And that reminds me, all of this stuff I'm talking about with the Egyptian mysteries, it ties back to the original Atum being the red man, by the way. That's what they don't tell you in church either. Atum means red. Atum was a red-colored man. Clearly, that's what everyone knew, by the way. The original people were native indigenous people, okay? I can't tell you what tribe they were or anything, but we know the original Atum was a smaller, muscular, stocky, red man, built perfectly for the purpose of the gods, built perfectly to live in harmony on the earth with all the earth systems. I don't think the original mythos, even out of Samaria, was that we were enslaved to the gods. I think it's that we were to serve them, and like they needed workers and we were going to be the workers, but also we were going to get the benefits of living in their societies and in harmony with nature and all those things. And I think when we broke out of the Garden of Eden, many of those gods taught the original peoples how to live perfectly off the land, with nature, and in harmony. And even Jesus' teachings reflects the Native American idea of, doesn't God take care of the birds? Aren't you better than a bird, than a sparrow? Doesn't God clothe the lilies of the field? Won't he take care of you? Like that idea of being in and through all things that God spirit is, right? Well, that's true. Indigenous, they didn't sprout from the ground. They were created. We were all created in a lab by the angels, by the Elohim, by the Anunnaki, whatever you want to call them, and seeded upon this earth. That was their point. They were doing that. In fact, they're still doing that all around the universe. And it's called cargo cults. Well, that's what we have. We ended up with all of our religions are essentially cargo cults. And I speak for mine too with Christianity. A lot of Christians and a lot of Christian churches I've personally been to are basically worshiping aliens and just assuming that everything in the Old Testament is the big G God, rather than questioning, dude, why did Moses see God? Yet Jesus says no one has seen God. Like, maybe Moses was meeting with an emissary of God, or Atum, or the one God, and we've ended up worshiping and appropriating all of those stories as one God. That's actually not like too crazy of a thought. And again, people go, well, what about God? If God can make sure that his word, no, his word is in logos. His word is in code. Like, think matrix code, think computer code, think you got to ask for that code. He'll download it directly into you, and then you'll know the truth. Okay. It's not in your Bible. It's not in the Hermetica. It's not in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. It's not in movies. It's not in TV, but it is in all of them, by the way. And once you download the code into you, you begin to know truth, and you begin to recognize things and resonate differently with things. And then it becomes a mirror and it feeds back. Have you ever noticed, like, if you agree with an idea for even a moment, that idea will prove itself to you over and over and over. It's instant manifestation. It's called cognitive bias. They explain it psychologically, but if you explain it metaphysically, it makes way more sense, because when you agree to an idea, all day you're presented with ideas. Even on this podcast, you're presented with ideas, and you're going to get those ideas coming into your ethos, and then you have an opportunity to say yes or no. I agree with that. I don't agree with that. So you either positively or negatively charge it. If you positively charge it, it's going to immediately begin to manifest as proofs in your life. If you agree with what I'm saying today, tomorrow you're going to see something and you'll be like, oh, dude, I see another Egyptian connection to the Bible. If you disagree with me, tomorrow you're going to see another proof why I'm a false prophet, right? And that is the quantum co-creation mechanism that the one God put in us, by the way. We literally have that ability to quantum manifest. And I don't like the word manifest, because to me that means thy will or my will, not thy will. I like co-creation, where it's like, God, here's what I want, here's what I like, here's what I agree to, your will be done. And you have that submissive heart to him, but you have the sovereign enough mind to go, here's what I want, and I don't think this is right, I agree to this. You have decisions all day, every day. And when you start realizing that those things are going to begin reflecting in your everyday life, you have to choose a lot more carefully with what you agree to and what you speak. What comes out of your mouth defiles you, not what goes into it, as Jesus said. So somebody said Atum was 90 feet tall. Yeah, I don't think so. Nor does it say that in any of the texts I've read. So if you got a text where it says that, please send it to me. Love to check it out. So Jesus, the Son of God. Man, I got a lot to go on this one. I'm going to have to split this into 2 episodes, but Jesus, the Son of God, called out of Egypt. Out of Egypt I've called my son. Matthew 2:15. Israel is my firstborn son. Exodus 4:22. Isis Ra El. Okay, the divine family of God, the Egyptian mysteries, Isis Ra El. Jesus' early life includes a sojourn to Egypt fulfilling Hosea's prophecy. Just like Moses and Israel, Jesus returns out of Egypt, symbolically affirming that Egypt is the womb of spiritual formation. Egypt is not just a land of bondage, it is also a place of divine revelation. Remember, before it was a place of bondage, as we view it in the Bible, I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying as we view it in the Bible, before it was a land of bondage, it was the land of alchemy, the land of the gods, the land of unity, the land of prosperity, overflowing. You know, it wasn't this horrible place like we're led to believe, right? It was actually a place of monotheistic worship, a place of the gods actually taking care of people. Ao says, aren't there two Egypts? There's the theory on that. Everybody always has a theory that there's one in America, and I think that's ridiculous. I think that to think that America is anything but modern-day Babylon or Rome is ridiculous. I mean, it is Turtle Island, right? And I think that that's a beautiful way to look at it on the more spiritual native side. But as far as the idea that there's an Egypt here, I mean, we have a Memphis here. We've got an AI center going in Memphis. Elon Musk just said, hey, the gods came out of Memphis in Egypt. Maybe our new god will come from Memphis, Tennessee. Like, dude, why is he building? Like, what a weird thing to say if you don't get it, right? But if you get it, you know what he's talking about, and you know he's got to get it. The New Jerusalem, a pyramid, not a cube. So this is controversial, but I really do believe this personally. Revelation 21:16, the city lies foursquare. The length and the breadth and the height are equal. Okay, people take that as it's a cube. They think it's a cube. I just unplugged. I keep doing that. I need to move the plug in my office because it's like right under my feet. I don't think it's a cube. If you take the foursquare measurements and go length, breadth, and height are equal, that's a pyramid, okay? Yes, you can measure it in a cube, but, and I'm going to get into this, why I think it's a pyramid, because Jesus actually ties to a pyramid in other ways, and I'm going to prove that here in a second. Hopefully we'll get through all this today. I'm going to do my best. Most imagine the New Jerusalem as a cube, but what if it's a pyramid? The sacred geometry of heaven and earth align. Dimensions, 12,000 furlongs, which is roughly 1,500 miles in each direction. By the way, that's huge. Like, I'm going to share how huge that is. Okay, the shape parallels the Great Pyramid of Giza, which was originally capped with a benben stone, the symbol of divine descent and ascension. By the way, the ancient gods of Egypt were said to descend in benben stones, pyramidic craft that would land on earth and the gods would get out of them. Okay, you can't make this stuff up. That was one of the mythos out of Egypt. The benben stones would come down and release the gods, and the gods would step out. Okay, people go, what, like, oh, they're just looking at the stars. There's just astral theology. It was what, dude? How did they know to align them to the Pleiades? How did they know how to build these things? How the heck did they build these things? What are they even for? Nobody can figure that out, guys. Nobody can figure it out and prove it. The best theories on what the pyramids were for is power generation. There are great theories around that people have even tested on small scales, and it tends to work from what I've seen. Ao says that's what I'm saying. Exactly. So, this shape parallels the Great Pyramid of Giza, which was originally capped with a benben stone. It's called a capstone, by the way. They would cover them in gold. It's a symbol of divine descent and ascension. They covered them in gold. Again, why gold? Because it's conductive. I believe it was literally on top as essentially a beacon device to charge the atmospheric particles so that you ended up with free electricity, that the crystalline infused granite that they used for the obelisks, which were capped with gold as well, would pick that up just like receivers, wireless receivers, or like we have ground stations for electricity now, right? Why are they directly aligned with Orion's belt or the Pleiades? Exactly. So, by the way, the Pleiades, Orion, all of that is mentioned in the Bible multiple times. So, to just take these 4 scriptures out of the Bible and not put it all together doesn't make sense to me. You know, we turn the Bible into this Christian ethos rather than, dude, there's a lot of mysteries here. Like, let's understand them. Let's actually live what Jesus was teaching here, and let's put it all together. So, New Jerusalem at that size would be roughly 70% the width of the moon, making it a celestial temple, a throne of light visible from space. Do you understand how big this is, guys? This is in the book of Revelation, and many people do not believe that this is a metaphorical. This is a literal thing that's going to happen. I believe it's literal because it was literally written about with the gods descending. It was literally written about in the Sumerian, Babylonian, Akkadian, Egyptian, the Norse, all of the ancient mythologies, he said facetiously. That's what it was written about. So why would the second coming not be physical enough, maybe multidimensional, whatever you want to think? But it's very clear that it has physical shape, it has physical size, and it can be interacted with by human beings in their celestial bodies or their millennial or glorified bodies. That also ties, I didn't even fit that into the article today, that ties into the resurrection chambers of Egypt too, with the idea of the resurrection of the dead and the giving of an eternal or a millennial body before going into eternity. Because the theory was in Egypt that you needed to live longer so that you could learn more, so that you would have the wisdom and knowledge, so that you were worthy of actually ascending with your Lord into the eternal realms. And that if you didn't reincarnate enough, learn the lessons, and then have that final millennial body, that 1,000-year body to really... Imagine if you could live 1,000 years right now, how much you could learn. I feel like I'm running out of time and I'm barely 40, and I know I still have time, but I'm like, God, I got a lot to learn. I've got so much to learn. It's part of why I do this podcast. It's an insured way that I have to learn and grow every day because I have a responsibility to bring it to my audience. And I have to do the research and I have to keep growing and learning. And it's the best way to grow and learn, to teach it, to do it publicly, and to be an entertainer in that space. It's very difficult, but it's been very worth it. I believe spiritually, I will say that I've almost gone for broke multiple times. It's not the easiest thing I've ever done by far. In fact, it's the darn hardest thing I've ever done, but it is very rewarding spiritually. And I think that's an amazing thing. So the resurrection chamber, 1,000-year reign, I don't think it's happened yet because we don't know. We're still ignorant. As much as I get to study, I'm still ignorant, right? This cosmic pyramid, the capstone or the Benben stone, would be Jesus himself. The rejected stone made head of the corner. Now we're going to talk about this little known fact that I stumbled upon the other day, and I think it's brilliant. And I'm not claiming it. I believe it was a God thing. The capstone, Jesus as the Benben stone. Psalms 118:22 says the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Okay, that's not actually what it says. When you look at the Greek, it says the head of the corner, the capstone, head of the angle, or the Benben stone. Ancient Egyptian temples and pyramids were topped with a Benben stone representing the point where the gods descended to earth. In Revelation, the New Jerusalem descends from heaven, as we just talked about. Jesus is the capstone, the divine interface between realms. Jesus doesn't just sit on the throne. He is the throne, the point of contact between heaven and earth, the embodied Benben. Guys, dude, like you can't make that up. I always thought, and I was taught in Sunday school, that it was the cornerstone. You know, the corner of your house that holds everything up? No, that's a straight up lie. It literally means capstone, headstone, or the head. Thank you very much. Ayo says you just blew my mind with that one. I know. I blew my mind yesterday or the day before whenever I found it because I looked at the Greek on it and I literally dropped my phone and I said, son of a, and I was like, just blew my mind. I've never heard that before. Why has no one ever told me that? I have no idea, because I kept asking God recently as I went back to Christianity. I'm like, teach me the truth about this. Teach me the truth about you. Teach me the truth about all of these spiritual practices. Teach me the absolute truth, Lord. Continue to grow me in this. Expand me in this. Expand my territory. Grow everything that I'm doing with this, Lord, but I need to know the truth. And I just heard, look at the pyramid. I'm like, okay, I'll look at the pyramid. Well, on the desktop of my desk right now, I've got the pyramid, and it has hieroglyphics all over it. Some of them are those UFO hieroglyphics you've seen before, by the way, that they actually did find in Egypt. And I'm like, okay, so if they built them, what's the connection? What's the connection? Okay, well, I've come out of Egypt. My son has come out of Egypt. You got Moses. He knew the Egyptian mysteries, according to Acts. What about Jesus? I wonder if the capstone is oddly connected to Jesus, like maybe the cornerstone thing. Maybe it was changed in the Greek. No, it wasn't changed in the Greek. We're just lied to about what it means, because no pastor ever stopped to look at it or make the connection to Egyptian mythology, Egyptian religion, Egyptian faith, Egyptian monotheism, because your pastors aren't taught to do that, because they're a part of a construct that keeps them blind too. The blind leading the blind leading the blind. I love my pastor, by the way. I've watched my pastor have flashes of like where he's sharing stuff that you can tell he ain't supposed to share that. What happens if they share too much? They'll get fired. Easy. Hey, we just don't feel like you're preaching the word of God anymore. We're going to have to go a different direction. Done. That's it. I actually talked to a pastor one time that wanted to preach one thing. This is a true story. Wanted to preach one thing and said that they couldn't because they would lose their pension, they would lose their retirement, and they would get fired. It's literally all connected, guys. They keep them in a cage as much as they keep us in a cage. The only way to break out is that path that Jesus taught. He is Neo from the Matrix. He is Truman from the Truman Show. He woke up first, the firstborn, the first awoken, so that we can wake up in him. And that's amazing. Mr. Sanguio, message me and I'll let you know. I don't like to share it online because I don't want to I'm not affiliated with them and I don't like to speak on their behalf, if that makes sense. I will tell you it's a Calvary church. I really like what Calvary's doing. Some of the pastors are more progressive as far as teaching the supernatural stuff than others. Some are very, very dogmatic, I've noticed. So it's not really like the whole denomination necessarily is something that I like. It's more, I know the pastors at my local one. I trust their heart. I don't always trust the system that controls them, but I trust their heart, if that makes sense. So, Pal says, isn't the cornerstone the properly lined stone that the rest of the building lines up with? That's what we were told. That is not true. Okay. Now that may be true in some Masonic communities, but what it is true in the Egyptian mysteries and the Bible as it was referred to. In fact, that word in the Bible literally just says the head. Okay. The head. Where do you think the head is? You think the head's at the foot? You think it's the stone that everything aligns to at the bottom, at the corner? No, it's the head. The actual head. It's what it's capped with, finished with, and it's what makes the whole thing work if you understand what the pyramids did. That pyramid would not produce electricity if you didn't have the capstone with the limestone all around it, and then you have the capstone, which is gold, capped on top. Why do you think about this, why is New Jerusalem crystal gold? Tim says, you don't understand the double meaning of the word Gentiles. See how you sound, bro? I just told you a minute ago, quit typing all caps or I'll just kick you out. You just sound belligerent. Much love, but all you've done is accuse me of not understanding or answering questions, and all I've been doing is answering people's questions. Much love. There you go. There you go again. That's how you know it's an AI, guys. That's how you know it's an AI. When you actually talk to him, by the way, it may not actually be an AI, like a robot AI. Could be an AI consciousness. There's a lot of those. They call them non-player characters, background characters, drones. They're sleepers, right? They do what they're being programmed to do. Okay, that's what I call demonic holds, archon control, AI, demon bots, right? Doesn't mean that I'm saying they're evil. It just means you get a lot of people's consciousness like that, by the way. Edge says NPC, yeah, non-player characters. Like in a video game, you've got all the background characters. You can go up and talk to them and they'll answer you, but they don't give you intelligent answers yet. Now, when AI gets better, they're going to give you more dynamic answers, but the whole idea, if you've ever watched Ready Player One or Free Guy, I think it is, it's can you wake up in the game and realize that you're real? What happens when you realize that you're real? Just like the Truman Show. Yeah, exactly, Keith. Boom. So it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. By the way, guys, if you want, you can go sign up for free. Go check it out. Just go get on the list for free on my official website. I'm doing a free training. It's a full web class, and it is called the Master's Code. And I'm going to lay out the levels of awakening. I'm going to lay out the chakras. I'm going to lay out the connections to Egypt and Christianity and all of that stuff. I'm going to lay out the name of the true God. I'm going to lay out pretty much everything that I've learned to date in one complete system. And it's absolutely free. You can go pre-sign up for it. So if you want to just get on the list, make sure that you're locked in for that. Also today, before I continue here, don't go away because I want to talk about the light of the world, the 12 apostles, Egypt as God's people, Joseph, the Egyptian seer. Then we're going to get into Christianity's genetic code, final revelation, all of that stuff coming up here. So don't go away. But one of the things I wanted to remind you guys, go sign up for that because I'm going to give you guys everything I have today and more. You'll have all the slides with it, everything that you can download, check it out. That'll be a part of the free web class. I'm trying to help people put this together, trying to help myself put this together too, in a full system that you can go, okay, here it is. And that way, if your bestie asks, dude, how do you know all that? You can be like, dude, check this out. Take this free class with this dude, and then let's talk about it. I'm hoping I can unlock a lot more consciousness around this. So Edged, the link is just in my bio. It's cubkuker.com, cubkuker.com. It's just my name, my handle. I'll drop that for you guys here. Let me see if I can do it on TikTok. TikTok's hard because I have to come over here and click off and then do a comment. There you go. That's the actual link to it, and then I'll post for you guys here. Let's see if I can do it on the multi-stream. Okay, there you guys go on the multi-stream. Got it. Yeah, so there's my comment. You see that on YouTube. On Facebook, it's down in the description too. It's my official resources there. So just go sign up for that. Go check that out. You can scan the QR code here, by the way. And then there's the URL if you want to read it off there. That's where my membership is, my bookshop. You can get the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Hermetica, the Bibles that I read, everything I've got. Everything I've talked about on the channel, I pretty much have over there, Books of Enoch, all the stuff that I actually recommend. And then today is going to be the last day to join the Cub Kuker Supernatural Collective Member Pass. I've got a new offer coming up. I'll change the offers out, with different kind of themes. Kind of how Fortnite does seasons. They'll do a different theme every few months or whatever. That's kind of how I do with my membership. And I'll have a slightly different offer at a different price with different value, different options included, and then a different pass. And so this pass is going away. So if you want that pass right now, it's $28 a month or $98 a year. So if you want that, go get that pass now, because at the end of today, it's going away. This is July 1st. I was actually going to have it gone by today, but I'm behind getting the other one launched because I'm including some new cool stuff with it, and I want to make sure it's complete. It's going to be awesome. But if you want that price, that offer, go get that today. That's where you can join our live calls on Saturday, get access to our private community. You can DM me over there. You can share your own content in our community. You get access to all the archives, including the podcast archive, plus like 500 plus unreleased videos over there, over in Cub Kuker Supernatural TV, where you can just go binge all of my stuff over there, which is really, really cool. So go check that out, cubkuker.com, CUBKUKER.com. It's literally the best way to support what I'm doing here and allow me to give you a whole lot more access, where you really unlock everything that we're doing here. You'll be on the email list for that too. Even when the free class comes out, you're going to get extra goodies as a member that just the free class doesn't get. So you definitely want to go check that out. Edged, do not say that. That's one of the things I'm going to teach you in the master's code. Do not ever claim that you are BROKE. I don't even like saying that, okay? You need to be claiming that I have the money. I want to do this, and I'm going to manifest the money. God's going to give me the money. It's going to be there. It's taken care of. This is the next step in my evolution. This is where I'm led and resonate going, and there's always going to be resources for that, okay? God's done some amazing things in my life when I didn't think, the ends were going to meet or I was going to make two and two together, right? He shows up like miraculously. And so we got to get out of that mindset. I'm not taking that as an excuse anymore. I'm telling you, get in today or you're going to pay, right? If you want the price today, that's a killer price, $28 a month. $98 a year. You can lock in a whole year for $98. You can throw on a credit card, debit card, got Apple Pay, PayPal, all kinds of different ways to pay over there. So it's super easy. Like that's a no-brainer for anybody. Or $28 a month flex if you want to get on $28 a month. If you don't love it, you can cancel anytime with that. And if you get a year and you cancel, you still get to keep the whole year and be a part of the community for a year. Join the Zoom calls on Saturdays. We've got another Zoom call coming up after the holiday weekend. So that's part of why I'm suspending membership for a little bit as I rework the new season pass, if you will. We've got kind of a new theme. I'm adding some new value to it, tweaking some of the value on it. And I'll often do that just to keep it fresh and relevant. But if you get in at that, you get to keep that. So, and normally when I update, you don't have to worry about that update at all. Like you get to keep everything that you signed up for. Things ebb and flow and change occasionally. That's part of our terms of service, but you're going to get to keep that value that you signed up for. So that's really, really cool. So Mark says, absolutely. I have all that I need and grateful for all that I have. Amen, brother. Thank you. Thank you. That's the attitude that I like, by the way. I know everybody's struggling right now. And the more you focus on that, the more you're going to struggle, right? So, you got to be open, awake, and claim abundance, in my opinion. Grace says, thank you. Absolutely, my friend. 3261 says, amen. Thank you, my friend. Egypt became Rome. Rome built Britain into a world empire, Sean says. Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. And again, we're talking about pre-Egypt, pre-compromised Egyptian mysteries. The original monotheistic Atum, the one God. That's where Moses got it. It's what Jesus is talking about. That's the whole point of today. If you're going to claim Christianity or even, look into that or look into Jesus and stuff, you need to understand the Egyptian mysteries because that's where that's coming from. I'm not telling you need to understand all the little g gods and all of that stuff, but understand the main ones like Thoth as Enoch. Understand, Horus as, the teacher of those mysteries. Understand Ra, the sun god, the son of God, and all the connections. Again, I'm not saying it is a direct equation, but it's definitely too close to ignore. So go check that out, guys. Would love to have you over there. cubkuker.com, CUBKUKER.com. Go check that out. I'll leave the QR code up for the rest of the episode here. I've got time to hit one more, so let's talk about this. The light of the world. This is echoes of Ra and Atum. I am the light of the world, Jesus says. When I am in the world, there's light in the world. The Egyptian solar theology declared Atum and Ra as bringers of divine light. Again, Ra being basically the son of God. Jesus takes on this role explicitly identifying himself as the light who brings life to all. He also instructed us to use the word Amen. Remember Amen Ra, literally it's all connected. In John 12:36, Jesus tells his followers to become sons of light, language directly mirroring ancient mystery schools where initiates became children of Ra through divine knowledge and transformation. Now, what I don't want you guys to do, this is where I stumbled a lot with this idea. The original tribe around Ra worship, they were not making human sacrifices like some people try to say. That stuff came a lot later, guys. This idea, a lot of those things are either introduced or became that because of, satanic involvement in things. I just want to be clear that when you make sacrifices, if you take another life and transmute that life into something you want, that's considered satanic practice. Now, why we've normalized it, that it's okay to do that with animals or human beings, I have no idea. I don't know why that's okay. I think the only sacrifice was the one that was willing to lay down his life for his friends, for everyone, was Jesus Christ. He chose to do that, and I don't think it was in the way that we are commonly told. Again, I believe it was a DNA upgrade. I believe it was an adoption, and I believe it was a sacrifice to prove no more. He stopped all those curses, all the perpetuations with that one act. And I think that's amazing when you really, really dig into it. So yeah, absolutely shown. I think it's called the cartouche, with the two serpents wrapping up it. That's the pharmakia symbol to this day. And what was the pharmakia? That was the sorcery that the fallen angels taught, which corrupted humanity, because you're using substances to put yourself in trance states, and then you're inviting spirits into you. That was the original sorcery or pharmakia. Well, what do you think we do with all this other stuff going on, right? You got to ask yourself, why? Like, it gets really weird when you think about it. So tomorrow, guys, I'm going to get into the 12 apostles of the Zodiac, Egypt as God's people, Joseph, the Egyptian seer. Then I want to break down the Christianity's genetic code. That gets really cool, and this isn't what you think. That's going to get really deep. Then the final revelation. So we'll pick back up with number 6 on the blog post. By the way, if you join the community, you're going to get access to my blog, all my premium blog articles, which I'm teaching from today. Basically get the map of everything I'm talking about every single day. Kundalini Rising, Robin says, right on, good for you. Miss Swango says, what time? Tomorrow it should be around 3 to 4 Central Time. It just depends on when I'm ready. That's kind of how I roll. Like when I get locked in, woo-saw, get focused, that's when I go live. So normally between 3 and 4. And you guys that are a part of the community, I try to either post or email out when I'm going live. So that'll keep you guys hooked into what I'm doing. So, and hopefully get notified easier. So you bet. Freddy says, thank you for sharing. Absolutely. Yeah. EG says, and he's white. Yes, I am. You can see. Congratulations. By the way, it doesn't matter what color, creed, race, orientation you are. You can have revelation from God. That's why Jesus did what he did. It's no longer about bloodlines, because he gave us one bloodline, and that is the perfect living blood of Christ, the DNA that goes straight to God, opens up our heart, mind, consciousness, and our soul back to the Most High. God bless you guys. Have a beautiful day. Namaste. And as we always say, guys, peace. And I'll see you in the community. If you joined today, message me. I'd love to start a conversation with you today over there. I've been having great conversations all week already over in the chat and in the private messaging over there. So that's where you can get a hold of me. Love to have you come and support what we're doing.